Welcome everyone, Jason Hoppy here to walk you through how to create this interesting type effect in Illustrator. Got that slip shadow and kind of got that stipple effect with kind of the inner shadow going on here. Grab the type tool and going to click and type out a word that we'd like to convert. The font that I'm using is Colt Soft, and you definitely want to pick a font that's got some weight to it, because anything that's going to be thin or wispy isn't going to give us enough internal working space to do what we want to do. Going to convert the type to outlines here. Type, create outline, Shift Command O. And I am going to fill the type with white and put a black stroke around my object of a couple points. In the stroke panel, I'm then going to set my stroke to the outside of my shape to get the maximum internal workings of that shape. I'm going to select that, hold down the Option key, and Option or Alt, click and drag to duplicate that type. I'm going to reduce the stroke down to 1 point, and I'm going to go to the Object menu, I'm going to choose Path, Offset Path. And I'm going to offset my path a negative number, which is going to give me a path on the inside of my object that's going to mimic the outside shape. In the stroke panel, I'm going to round the corners so that it keeps the rounded corners as well. And then I'm going to go under the Edit menu and I'm going to choose Cut to cut that out of the type that I'm working on, because I just want this smaller offset path right there to be able to build my little stipple effect in here. With the first type that I created here, I'm going to create this slip shadow effect. If I go into the Effect menu, choose Distort and Transform, and then Transform, make sure your Preview button is checked, and set the horizontal offset to 1 and the vertical offset to 1 as well. Horizontal is going to move it over 1 point, vertical down 1 point. Then I'm going to increase the number of copies here to create that slip shadow effect. That's how you create that slip shadow. Now, with our copy that we have here, what I want to do is I want to go in, and this is my offset path, the one that's made smaller. I don't want any fill color on here, but I'm going to keep this black border. I'm also going to duplicate this because I'm going to save that for later as well. And with my smaller offset type, I'm going to select this, and I need to make this all one shape. To make this one shape, I need to go into the Object menu and turn this into a compound path. A compound path is now going to treat all of these letters as one single shape. I'm going to go over to my toolbar and click on the Draw Inside button. This Draw Inside button will not be active or will not be available unless this is all turned into a compound path. With my Draw Inside active, I'm now going to click on my Line tool, and I'm going to draw a line through my content. And when I do this, what happens is that I only see the line where it's going to be drawn inside that shape. And I've got this set to a 1 point line. I'm going to take this line and Option click and drag it down a little bit, and then I'm going to do my Command D to keep duplicating that line in the same step that I just duplicated the first one. Select my content, and I'm going to go back to the Draw Normal mode. This now gives me that kind of cool effect that allows me to then place that in and get that kind of striated effect. But up here I had done dots, which are kind of a cool effect, and that can be done by selecting your Draw Inside shape, which is a clipping mask, going into your control bar here and clicking on the Edit Contents button, which allows me to get into the lines. And the dotted line, the dots here are actual lines here turned into dots. So what I'm going to do is go into the stroke panel. I'm going to round cap or hot dog the ends, turn this into a dashed line, set the dash length to 0 because a dot is 2 hot dogged ends with a dash length of 0, and then put the amount of gap that you want in between your circles. I have 2 points right there. That's going to give you those cool dotted lines. Okay? I'm going to move this, and I'm going to center that right here on top of my type. So it's kind of centered in there. Okay. Now I have my other copy here, which is also the inset path that I use to paste this inside with. And it too has no fill on this. And what I'm going to do is kind of tricky, is I want to create this kind of inner shadow look right here. Okay, this inner shadow as it goes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my type. I need to make sure I turn this into a compound path. So Object, Compound Path, Make. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to use the Draw Inside mode, and I'm going to paste. And then when I paste this inside, I'm going to move this over and down a bit, and I am going to set my stroke here on what I have selected inside to be right there in the middle. And I'm going to beef up that stroke a little bit to kind of give this internal looking shadow effect right there, okay, which is kind of cool. If I go back to my edit contents, I can edit what's inside there. If I go back to my shape or my frame, then I can edit that. And in this case, I can just leave my align stroke here to be in the center, or keep it at the edge if I want to change that. Now I'm going to go back and click on the Draw Normal mode. I'm going to take this, and I'm now going to park this over the top of my section that I was working on here, and I can nudge that around, which creates that cool internal bevel effect on that type. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Now, to get this vintage effect, black is just a little bit too harsh. So the way I did this was I selected everything here. Then I went under the Edit menu, under Edit Colors, and I went to Saturate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click on the preview here. I can go ahead and cut back the intensity of this, so I can increase that, so I can saturate it more. But if I saturate it less, it takes everything in there and just simply knocks it back a little bit more to create that vintage effect. Then I can put this on a colored background by drawing a container, sending it to the back using my Shift Command left bracket. I don't want any fill or any border color on here, but I do want to fill. And in order to get that kind of vintage looking yellow, what I do is I put a little bit of yellow and a little bit of black in there to create that kind of softer paper look. And there you go. Now you got that super cool vintage effect with that kind of drop shadow, that slip shadow, and that kind of inverted section with that inner shadow effect. And there it is. You can try that on so many different pieces of type. Just make sure they're heavy. Hope you enjoyed it, folks. We'll see you next week for more good stuff.